Hello, this is Chernik. I hope you enjoy this tutorial and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel at the end of it. Okay, we have our two shapes and we are going to work on how to manipulate shapes and move them around and align them. Okay?
Okay.
So, so you have I want you to go to a window and there's a whole list of tools here. You're going to go to the Align palette. Align, it shows you a whole bunch of hopefully easy to read little glyphs here that show you how you want to align the objects. Now, this only works if you select the objects. So if I hit like, oh, I'm going to align them, that's not going to work unless I select the object. So if something doesn't happen, it's probably because you forgot to select it. Happens all the time. You can click and drag across both of them to select it like that. Or, and I'm going to click off, I'm going to click and then I'm going to hold down shift and click the other one and both will be selected. This is really good when you have like 20 objects and you just want to select two parts of that 20 object thing. So if you click one and then you hit shift and you click the other and now they're together. Or you can just in this case drag across both of them.
Cool.
Okay. To align them, if you hover over these different little icons here, it's going to give you some different titles, including horizontal align center. So here it's going to align them. So now they're aligned on a invisible center line right here, horizontally. Just to show you what that means, I'm going to click off of this. Now they're both unselected. I'm going to click again. Only the top one is going to be selected now because I didn't click on the bottom one. Just as a side note, if I wanted to select both of them, I could just click and drag, and that will select both, even though I can't see the bottom one. But I don't want to select both. So, oops, sorry. So in order to just select the top one, I click on, and I'm going to hold down Alt to make it move from the center point. And now you can see that I've now moved this top shape, and they're aligned. They're aligned in the centered line. Can you see that?
Yes.
If you click on it and hold Alt, you can now grab your little handlebars and drag it all different shapes. As long as I'm holding Alt, it's going to do from that little X in the center. If you're doing this and both shapes are moving, that's because you dragged across. Now both shapes are selected, and I can also move them like this. And I'm holding Alt so that they're still from the center point. And if I hold Shift, same rules apply. They're going to keep their shapes. Okay. So to reiterate again, to select both objects, I drag across them, or I click and I click. Again, though, click and click only works if you could see both objects. If you had, like I just had before, with one object on top of each other, you can't see the one below it, so you have to drag across them. Hold down Alt and grab the corner handle, and I can drag it from the center. If I don't hold down Alt, it's going to go from the corner. I'm holding down Alt again, it's from the center. And I hold down Shift, and it's going to keep its proportions. And if I hold down Shift, it's going to keep its proportions from the bottom corner.
Oh, how cool.
Isn't that cool?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're just moving it around, and when you get it to where you want it, sometimes if you go too far off it, if you go too, like I went off my screen like that on purpose, if I just move off to the bottom and left, it's going to come back. So because it's just moved my artboard. So you can always hit undo and do it again until you paste that. So make something like this, where you have a round one or a square one and a taller one.
Okay.
I'm gonna make it even taller, okay? We're gonna drag across both of them, and we're gonna align it to the center horizontally and to the center vertically. That way, if I accidentally moved them like that, I can, now that'll align at center point. You see these 2 points are centered aligned, and then horizontally, da-da. So, oops, I'm not aligned. I want to align by the center points. Da-da, da-da. Oh, da-da, da-da. I said da-da. You're making me look bad.
I think I got it.
There, I got it now. It was just trying to make me look bad. Got it? Okay, so you're going to take your top shape, hit in the go to the corner, and you see it's got that little arrow that goes left and right. When I go here, it goes bigger and smaller, and that's the one I use to make it larger and smaller. When I go like this, I'm just moving my cursor slightly, it's going to give me that roundish arrow. That roundish arrow is going to rotate it. Whoa. Okay.
Oh, cool.
And guess what happens if I hold Shift? It's going to lock it to 45-degree angles. See?
Got it.
Okay, so I want you to grab it, and then holding down Alt and Shift, drag another one down so that's below it, so it's lined up with each other like this. If it's not lined up perfectly, you can use the Align tool to make sure that it's lined perfectly. This rotate guy here, that's the transform tool, or the rotate tool over here. So it's also, if you go to Object Transform, you'll have seen Rotate up here as well. And here's where you can decide you want to rotate it at 90 degrees. And you can hit OK. You want to do something cool, go like this, move one over here. Let's make it a little thinner for fun, a little smaller. Make a shape like that, click on it. Object, Transform. I'm going to do Rotate. I'm going to say 90 degrees, but instead of hitting OK, I click the preview button. Actually, I'm going to do it 45 degrees instead. 45 degrees. See how I'm hitting preview and showing you the preview? But instead of hitting OK, I'm going to hit copy. And then I'm going to do Object Transform again, or Control D. Now I've just made a shape using math in a circle. So it lets me, now it has a whole bunch of shapes all lined up. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so again, you start with this guy in the middle here. Object, Transform, Rotate. I set it to 45 degrees. This is also make sure you end up with shapes that, that line up mathematically correct. Or I can change it to 30 degrees or 20 degrees. Let's do 20. Not 29, 20, 20. I hit preview on and off so I can double check it. And then I can it can either hit OK, which is just going to move the shape, or I hit copy. And then Control D or Transform again will give me this. So let's make some flowers or some square things. Make yourself a nice flower or some kind of cool shape. Now, no, I can still click and just select one part by accident like that. Or I can click and not by accident, I can choose a different color for that guy. See, now it's a different color. Now you're not seeing the whole thing because this one I happen to click is lower on the layer, lower on these pile of them. Remember that these are still shapes and they're still piled onto each other. So imagine you had a bunch of index cards all laid out. This guy's a little further down. So I'm going to go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front to bring this particular shape to the front. If I went to this one, I could go Object, Arrange, Bring to Front, and he's now at the front. Change this color. Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. That brings this one. So you see there are actually a whole bunch of little ellipses in a circle that are literally just individual shapes piled on top of each other. And so remembering your shape, remembering the order that they're in is important. I'm manipulating them. So there, I've changed a couple different colors so you can see. Okay, let me show you something in case you get stuck in this. There's a thing now in Illustrator which is pretty cool, especially when you have a lot of shapes, called isolation mode. So if you double click on one of these shapes, just click right on it, you will get this weird everything else is grayed out isolation mode that you're probably going, how do I get out of this? Because I usually do it by accident because I don't tend to use it a lot. What it does is it gives you just the shape you're working on and puts everything else in the background. It knocks everything else back. So you're just working on this one. Which is good. But if you want to get out of it, if you're like, you double click it, you're like, I can't get out of this, just double click off on the side and you'll be back to your regular. See, I double clicked on it, now I'm in isolation, double click off. Just showing you that because I end up accidentally in isolation mode all the time. So some people love isolation mode. I don't tend to use it a lot, but it's a personal preference thing. So, all right, so I want you to make a cool flower like this or a square thing or whatever floats your boat. We're going to change the colors a little bit here just so we can see the difference. I am going to select all of them by clicking and dragging across them. Now this is 1, 2, 3, 4 shapes right now. We're going to make this into one shape using the Pathfinder tool. Okay.
Okay.
You're going to go over to next to the line to Pathfinder, and they're just going to give you a whole bunch of little glyphs that describe all kinds of things that I use all the time. Actually, before we do this, I'm going to have you do this. I'm going to have you click on it, and I'm going to have you Alt-Shift-Drag a copy of it, and then Object Transform, Transform again. It's going to give you another copy. So now you're going to have 3 copies on top of each other.
Got
Tell
it.
me when you're ready. Okay, so now we get to make a choice, depending on what we're doing with our shape. If I know that I want to keep this as a flower shape and I will never, ever, ever need these little shapes independently again, I can go ahead and select it and hit the Unite tool under the Pathfinder, which will combine them. Now they're one shape, and they're going to be the color of whatever the top shape is. All those other shapes are now gone. I mean, it is now just literally that shape, and the other shapes are gone, okay? Which is good if we know we want that shape. If you want to keep these under shapes,
Ooh.
I know. If you want to keep these under shapes, we would choose to do something else, which would be to group them. Object, group. So now, when I click off and I click on, no matter where I click, even if I click in the corner, I'm not going to pull this part. For instance, I come down here, these are not grouped. I grab that guy, it's just going to drag that little arm out. I grab the group shape, and now it's a group shape, and it moves all together as a group shape, okay? So the difference between these 3 things is that this guy is still independent shapes, and they're free-floating. This guy is independent shapes that are grouped together in the buddy system. And this guy is one shape. And I could give it a stroke instead. I treat it like one shape. See that?
Got it.
All right. Take your solid shape. I want you to hit Edit, Copy, or Control-C. Edit, paste in front, Control-V or Control-F. Control-V will just paste it. Oops. Actually, we want to paste it in front. Edit. All right, you can do it either way you want. If you do paste in front, it's going to paste it directly on top of that one. If you just hit paste and it pastes it down here, you can go ahead, select the 2, go to Align, Align. So what we're going to do is we're going to do Copy, Object, Edit, Copy, Edit, paste in front. I want you to go to the color picker over here and pick a different color, because otherwise you won't be able to see the difference. So now it's a darker color or a lighter color or whatever you choose. And we're going to shrink it. I'm going to hold down Alt so it goes from the center and Shift so it stays the same proportions. That is a completely separate shape now. See that?
Yeah, cool.
All right, now you just select both of those. Again, the same rules apply. If we grouped them, they would be 2 shapes grouped together. But if we go over here and we click minus front, we will now have knocked out that center shape. So you punched it out like a hole puncher.
Where did you get that again? Minus front?
This is next one over. The first one here is unite, and then the minus front,
Okay.
and then intersect, and then exclude. And we're going to play with these for a second here. These guys, I use these a lot. So, and now you have to think of your shape as just the green. That's your shape.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So your inner shape is now gone forever and ever and ever.
This is starting to make me think of your snowflakes.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so all of these things do all kinds of different stuff. For instance, you select on these 2 and you hit intersect. It's going to basically only do the 2 parts that are intersect each other. See what it did is it got rid of anything that didn't intersect. Only the parts that, only the parts that are intersected. Here it minus the front. Here it excluded, which means anything that intersected got excluded, and this is a different shape. One of the ones that I use a lot, especially when I'm doing stained glass windows and things like that, is I'm going to select all of these and I'm going to use this guy right here, which is the divide. Now the divide is going to basically divide all of these different lines like this. I click on it, it doesn't look like anything has happened. When I click off and I click back on, it still doesn't look like anything has happened. However, though, if I do object on group, click off and click on, I now have a whole bunch of individual objects.
Whoa.
What it's done is it's basically chopped it up and then grouped it for me. So it's one shape, but it's all grouped together.
Whoa, amazing.
It's cool, right?
Yeah.
Now, another thing you can do really quickly while you're doing this is that I'll show you how to use the direct selection tool later. Rather than ungrouping it, so basically go back to when it was grouped, instead of ungrouping it, I could go to use this other arrow, the direct selection tool, and that will let me select individual pieces within the group. So go over to the white arrow and click on like a sub part and change the color of it. That's how you can manipulate it without ungrouping it. So you basically, you can either ungroup it or you can use the direct selection tool.
So this is once it's been divided.
Once it's been divided, now it's a whole bunch of different shapes that's been divided. So
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Very fun.
And when I'm done with that, if I decide I want it to be one shape again, I can go back and hit unite, and now it's one shape, which would completely undo all my work. So I don't really need to do that, but you know, but you can reunite it into one shape again. And all the same rules of copying and scaling still apply. Okay.
Oh my gosh, I feel like a kid with a coloring book.
Okay.
This is fun.
So this is what our assignment is for today. We are going to make, using only these tools that we've learned, a jack-o'-lantern. So I want you to use only the tools I taught you.
Okay.
To go ahead and make a jack-o'-lantern, as complicated as you want. There's Pathfinder. I'm going to use the star tool for the eyes. And you click on the star tool and you hit the mouse. That controls how many edges are on the star tool. So use all the tools that I taught you, including, you know, shift and drag. We can make like a crazy mouth with, you could basically use a bunch of different shapes for the mouth. You do yours your way. I'm just going to do a crazy one. I didn't use a rectangle yet. I'm going to use Pathfinder to connect those. Go up here, put it on top of my other shape, select both of them by clicking and shift clicking, and then minus it. Now, when I did that, it automatically, the two triangles disappeared. That's just because they're behind this. So if you ever lose shapes, it's probably because they're behind. So then I go to Object, Arrange, Send to Back, and there's my two eyes. It's gonna have a scary guy. Copy, edit, paste in front. Gonna make it smaller and rotate it. Give it some other color. Again, it's tucked. You can see just the corner of it. That's because it's below. Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. I'm gonna minus this eye from the jack-o'-lantern to make it see-through.
So I don't know why, but on my toolbar, I'm still not seeing shapes. Like the only shape I'm seeing is rectangle.
Do you have a little triangle in the corner?
I do. I want to click on it.
Click and hold, and this guy should pop up.
Oh, okay. All right. So now I've got an ellipse. Got it.
You got an ellipse, rounded rectangle. Probably don't worry about flare yet. Just stick with these. Star, like I said, star. You can click the up and down arrows to get more points on it.
Okay.
And all the same rules apply. If you want to minus things from it, you can, for instance, if I only want the bottom half of the star, I could make a star. I could make a rectangle. I could line it up like this. Select the two of them, and then I could minus the top. Now I just have half. Then I hit Shift and rotate it over. And I'm going to, sorry, I must use the eyedropper. I haven't taught you all the tools yet. I'm going to go there. Now I have a green. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Now it's on front. Maybe I want to put it in the back. I'm going to go to Object, Arrange, Send to Back. Actually, I know I like it in the back, but I'm going to hit I'm going to hit Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste in front, darken the color, shrink it up a little bit, object arrange, bring to front, and now it's in front of the orange. So you can see that the green is on the front, then comes my ugly pumpkin, and then comes this is behind. So it kind of gives it this layer. You got to remember thinking like layers, like cut construction paper. If you can't see a shape, it's probably because it's underneath the bigger shape. So go back to cut construction paper days in kindergarten. And this is kind of the basics for a lot of what's done in Illustrator. I mean, all of this here, this snowflake was made this exact same way as what you're doing. And this is exactly, you can see the copy. I'm going to bring my snowflakes in. I'm going to change the color so you can see them. Make them green snowflakes. And you can see that these are the same thing. It's just I made the shape and then I did rotate around and I did it using the math and minus the shapes, out of them. Same thing. It's exactly what I did for the snowflakes. I just do it on a massive scale. So to recap, we learned how to use the selection tool, how to use the shape tools under here. So to recap, we covered how to use the selection tool, how to use the shape tools. When you click with the shape tool, it gives you the option to put in the numbers if you wanted to have it a very specific size, or you can just click and drag. We covered how to hold down Shift and keep it the same proportions, how to hold down Alt and have it change size from the center, Alt and Shift together, same proportions from the center. How to use the Move tool to click, Alt and Shift, and drag it so that it's right next to each other. We covered a little bit of the Align tool, not too much, but a little bit. And then we covered a little bit of the Pathfinder tool, how to play with these guys. These guys are pretty self-explanatory. Okay. And that's a good start for today. That was fun. Thanks for watching. And be sure to hit subscribe and visit my Patreon at patreon.com/theexcaliburproject, my website at echochernik.com. Thank you for tuning in.